Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Hi guys, we are talking about I Know What You Need, which is the 15th short story in Night Shift. We are on a college campus again, and there is a girl named Elizabeth. She's studying for a final. A young man comes up to her. He's very rumpled, very disheveled looking, kind of maybe like a Doc Brown, just like a mad scientist type situation. And he says, I know what you need. He tells her that he was in this class before and he has a photographic memory and he can get her basically the questions from a final that he took in that class to help her study. She passes the exam. He gave her the correct answers, all that stuff. So now she feels like she's indebted to him, and at least she wants to be friends with him. He wants to be more than friends, but she says that she's basically engaged to a boy named Tony. Ed starts calling her Beth, and he asks her if anyone else calls her Beth, and she says no. And I really love this detail so much. She's referred to as several different names in this story. She's Elizabeth as we're reading the story, but her roommate calls her Liz, and Ed calls her Beth. So it's time for summer break. Elizabeth and her roommate part. She goes to work at a summer job, and Tony goes with her, and he is kind of not necessarily pressuring her to get married, but she's starting to feel suffocated by their relationship and by the thought of marrying him. She's having nightmares about, being closed in and feeling claustrophobic. And while they are on their summer break, Tony is killed. He is a construction worker and he was waving traffic with his little flag, and a red Fiat driven by a young man just ran right into him. The kid said he felt like he just didn't have any control over the car and couldn't stop it. It just happened. So a little bit later, Ed appears in her life again, and he takes her out to dinner. He anticipates her every need. He is just always one step ahead of her, and he is just so thoughtful, and she starts relying on him and falling in love with him, kind of. Quote, she was thinking about how quietly you could grow to depend on a person, almost like a junkie with a habit. Page 237. She returns to school. Ed is not there, and she's starting to get antsy about it. She wants to see him. So she hangs around waiting for him. She turns down dates from other boys. She doesn't go out and do things with her roommate, Alice, the same roommate from last year. She just is enveloped by thoughts of Ed. So Alice has been paying attention to her situation, and she didn't like the fact that Ed gave Elizabeth these notes, or basically a test, the answers to a test at the end of the year last year. She doesn't feel right about this kid, which leads us to this. Quote, Elizabeth noticed the long white envelopes that her roommate was receiving once or twice a week in the mail, since she was usually back from class first, but thought nothing of them. The private detective agency was discreet. It did not print its return address on its envelopes. Page 238. So we as the reader know that Alice has been investigating Ed. She has hired someone to investigate him. So now we're really invested. We're like, what is this deal, So Ed finally reappears in the fall, and Elizabeth is so grateful, and she just rushes headlong into this relationship. They start dating. She's just over the moon for this guy. And finally, she has a confrontation with Alice. And Alice says, I'm going to tell you some stuff, and it's probably going to end our friendship, but I have to tell you because I'm worried about you, and I can't let this continue. We find out that Ed was in Elizabeth's first grade class, and he's loved her since then. He's been obsessed with her since first grade, and she didn't even remember him. So Ed had a very tumultuous childhood. His father had a gambling problem, and Ed was able to help his father in casinos. His father would take him to casinos. Ed would help him win. So finally he was banned from that. he was not allowed in a casino anymore. And then Ed started helping his father play the stock market, invest in stocks. Ed always seemed to know what his dad needed, and his dad made a ton of money. Ed's mother tried to kill him with a pair of scissors, claiming that he was, quote, the devil's henchman, page 243. His mom has already tried to kill him. That's pretty brutal. And she tried again, possibly. It's unclear, but there was a point where they were on a family vacation, and the mom and dad were in the car, and the mom just floored it, possibly tried to hit Ed with the car, and then drove over a cliff. So the parents died. Ed was able to survive, and he inherited $1 million. Alice begs Elizabeth to think, and she says, quote, maybe he's some kind of low-grade psychic. Maybe he's got precognition. I don't know. There are people who seem to have a dose of that. Liz, hasn't it ever occurred to you that he's forced you to love him? That's on page 244. Elizabeth is just confused. All this information, all this stuff has happened, and she's just like, I don't know what to do. So she goes over to Ed's place, and he's not home. She lets herself in with the spare key and starts snooping around. There's like a book where he highlighted something, and it was like, this is perfect for Beth. That kind of thing. It's like he's taking notes on her life. And there's a closet door that's locked. So she finds a key to that. And she sees books on voodoo, and there's a Necronomicon, and there is a box that has an Elizabeth doll in it. And she realizes that the hair from the Elizabeth doll was from when she was a child. So he clipped her hair when she was a first grader, and he stuck it on his voodoo doll. So then, in the box, she runs across a model car, a red Fiat, and the underside of the car is all messed up, which jives with what the kid had said. He was driving this car, lost control, and killed Tony. Oh, and there's a piece of Tony's shirt on the car. So Ed pretty much murdered her boyfriend using his magic. As she's looking at this box of disturbing trinkets, she hears, quote, so you found it, you ungrateful bitch, page 248. We're at this point where Ed has become just crazy and enraged because she is not grateful for all that he's done for her, and he's very angry and pissed about it. So she takes his little things and she leaves, which I didn't think that he was going to let her leave, but I guess he loves her so much he's going to, not want to hurt her. And she walks over to a bridge and throws the stuff over the side of the bridge. But it's just, would you want to be with someone who anticipates your every whim, who always has your best interest in mind and can always predict what you want to do? It would be so fake. I don't know, I can see the creepiness of this situation. I would not like to be with someone like that. And I could see why she was freaked out about it, and, his rage is pretty intense and scary, but he doesn't end up murdering her or anything like that. And it kind of sucks because, he's had a very weird life. He's got this talent, and, he's been able to help people out, but it's just never enough. And he felt like everyone was pretty much unappreciative of his efforts. So, once again, there's voodoo and magic, and I like when Stephen King delves into that type of realm. And that is I Know What You Need. Have a spooky day.